Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream on the Henry and Craig Henry channels, respectively. This is a court update video. It's going to be very consumable for people to watch static or live stream. But we are coming to you about 5 hours after the hearing was held. I showed up, and basically the time that I showed up, around 8:15. The elected sheriff, George Dallaire of Greene County, Indiana. Keep in mind, this is where this hearing is being held, in Greene County, Indiana. The sheriff comes out and serves me with a judicial order. All right, that was fabricated. It was generated. I should say fabricated. It was generated the day before, so it was generated yesterday, and they just served me with this order. All right. Now I want to answer the question. Obviously, I'm not in jail. Right, so things didn't go as bad as they could have, but they made it very clear that they were going to violate the Constitution, whether they, it didn't matter. All right, so I want to give everybody a short recap of what happened. I also want to correct myself on a claim that I made yesterday, because I made some claims yesterday, and they weren't exactly true, but it wasn't because I was lying. It was because I didn't have all the information at my disposal. All right. So yesterday I made the claim that the prosecutor denied my motion, that it wasn't a judge. Well, now I've found out that the judge actually did deny my order. I just never received a copy of that denial. I only received the prosecutor's copy. So it appeared to me as though the prosecutor had taken it upon himself to become the judge and the prosecutor. I was wrong. That didn't happen. And I think that I need to admit that to everybody. I need to make it clear, because I don't want to ruin my credibility with everybody. I was wrong. And I apologize to everybody for that. So, but what this does, it just shows that basically there's more than one public official. There's more than one office that are using their powers granted to them in order to conspire and violate my civil rights. Right. So now we're going to get into the courtroom recap. They told me that, I have certain rights associated with the case, and they asked me if I understood. And of course, I don't understand. I don't understand any of this stuff. It's very difficult for me to wrap my head around trying to throw somebody in a cage because they published an audio recording on the internet. It's just beyond me. So I told him I didn't understand it, and I was adamant that I wanted to understand my rights that were granted to me in that courtroom. I wanted to make sure that I didn't think I had some sort of right that I didn't really have. Right. So I continuously pressed and asked, what rights do I have in here? The judge said that I had a few rights, right, to to be represented. She said that I had the right to I don't even know, like a trial, and I only get. See, this is the reason why, actually having an audio recording of a hearing would be useful, right? Because I don't actually know exactly what happened. I'm sitting here trying to recap it in my own head, and I can't remember it. Right? So how am I going to defend myself, or how am I going to prove misconduct on the side of the prosecutor or the judge if I can't even remember what was said clearly? Right? The only one who has control of that information is them. Right? So it's a clear double standard. But I think this is the point that I made, and I want to make sure that everybody understands this. I asked them, I said, when I walk through those doors to this courtroom, are my rights suspended, or are they put on hold? This is something that it's very important for me to understand this. And they continuously tried to skirt around the question. They didn't want to answer the question. So I came right out and said, I think that my rights are being violated. I believe that's what I said. And the prosecutor posed a question to me. This is Jared Holtzclaw, the Greene County, Indiana prosecutor, posed the question, well, what rights exactly do you think are being violated? And so I said, give me a second. And I pulled this up on my internet, on my screen, and I'm going to copy and paste it, because this is actually along with a lot of sensitive information that, look, I'll preface this by saying I know the prosecutor watches my videos. By the way, Jared, I apologize for misreporting that. But I'm talking to Jared, the prosecutor. I apologize for misreporting the fact that you had not denied my motion, that it was the judge that denied it. I didn't have that information, and I made that comment in error. But when the prosecutor asked me what rights, I brought this up on my computer, and I read it out to him. And I'm going to bring that up for everybody else to see right here. Let's see if it's showing. We want to get into full screen, and I'm going to zoom in for y'all to see it. So this is from the Illinois Supreme Court, okay? And look, people will say, well, look, the Illinois Supreme Court can say whatever they want, but that's not the Indiana Supreme Court. And I understand that. But Illinois and Indiana operate within the same federal circuit, right? There's federal circuits all over the United States that, most of them, they deal with a few states, right? So the Seventh Circuit deals with, I think, Indiana, Illinois, and maybe Missouri or something like this. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure I'm wrong about it. I know that they're over Illinois and Indiana, though. Excuse me. So the Seventh Circuit quoted this piece of case law that's on your screen right now, and I'm going to read it out to you. This is what they said. Audio and audio-visual recordings are medias of expression commonly used for the preservation and dissemination of information and ideas, and thus are included within the free speech and free press guarantees of the First and Fourth Amendments. That's the People versus Clark. Well, in the Seventh Circuit of the United States the United States District Court, they ruled on this, and they actually cited this particular piece of case law when deciding whether audio recordings in a courtroom were constitutionally protected forms of expression. And they ruled that they were, which would indicate that if you took it to a Seventh Circuit United States court, which is what's over the court that we're in, I mean, it goes the Superior Court, the Appellate Court, and then the Indiana Supreme Court, but then you get into the higher courts as well. You get into the United States Appellate Court, you get into the United States Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court of the United States has the final say. Of course, everybody knows that. But this is the progression that they go through. So if the Seventh Circuit of the United States Court is saying, hey, we recognize this as constitutionally protected forms of expression, it would insinuate that they're going to rule that same way again, right? But not only that, they're not even claiming, they're claiming that I aided in the recording. They're not even claiming that I did it. Or at least that's, as far as I can tell, they're not claiming that I did it. So when they're making this claim, they're really trying to punish me just for publishing. That's it. They just want me punished for publishing it, right? And everybody can form their own opinions about why a court system or why a prosecuting attorney would want everything that they do in the courtroom to be under lock and key. And by the way, they're lock and key, because the Indiana Supreme Court is the only one with access to these court recordings. So anyways, I went in and I put them on notice. I said, look, what you all are doing here is in clear violation of my right to make audio and audio-visual recordings and then disseminate that information to the public, right? And it's your orders violating everybody else in here. And so they tried to, pin me up on it. Oh, you're saying the Supreme Court is doing X, Y, and Z. The Indiana Supreme Court is doing X, Y, and Z. And they tried to say that, basically I have no respect for them. But no, I'm just saying that, look, courts make mistakes. It's well understood. Courts make mistakes all the time. And a lot of the times they only evaluate the information that's put in front of them by one of the two parties of a case, right? The courts aren't going to go looking for case law on their own to decide a case. They're just going to take what the prosecutor gives them. They're going to take what the defense gives them, and they're going to make a ruling based on that. So I said, look, maybe nobody's brought this to the Supreme Court's attention. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but ultimately it's clear as day. It doesn't take a lawyer or a rocket scientist. I'm actually going to bring it back up again. And we're going to evaluate this. So we have here, audio and audio-visual recordings are medias of expression commonly used for the preservation, which is exactly what I was talking about, saying that it would be helpful for me to have a record of it so that I can go back and look at what was said, right? But the preservation and dissemination of information and ideas, and thus are included within the free speech and free press guarantees of the First and Fourth Amendments. And that was ruled in 2014, everybody. So, and there's some comments saying, they will lose, you will win. Well, who knows? Who knows? Because ultimately it's up to them who wins, right? I want to make the distinction between an unbiased court and a government court, right? When the government's fighting against you in a government court, the government court is clearly they've clearly got an incentive to rule with the government, right? Especially if, like, say somebody said, oh, well, the government stole my taxes from me, I didn't consent to pay them. Then, a government court's going to say that you're ridiculous every time, that you've got to pay those taxes, because if they didn't, then they wouldn't exist, right? Their salaries would go into oblivion. So with that being said, everybody, anything could still happen. I want to give everybody the date. The next date is March 15th at 1 p.m. It's March 15th at 1 p.m. And this is when the judge says we're going to have an actual hearing on this. They don't want to give me any more time. So basically, I'm showing up on March 15th. I am going to talk to an attorney. We've got an attorney that the Henry Media Group is looking at representing me in this particular matter, because it is a very convoluted issue. But look, the Constitution is not rocket science, and there's no conflict between the Constitution and common sense. And anybody who thinks that, you need to go to college for 8 years to read a document that was written 250 years ago, hey, come on, give me a break. It's just not the case. You don't need a PhD to interpret what the Constitution says. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin said at the writing of the Constitution, this is written in such a way that the common man can understand it, that the layman can understand it. You don't need to be a scholar. And it was written that way intentionally. So with that being said, everybody, sorry, I said March 15th. I did not mean to say March 15th. I meant to say August 15th. It's in 14 days. August 15th at 1 p.m. That's the next date. So I'm going to correct that. I'm going to put that in the description and in the pinned comment right after this. I'm going to get off of here. I've got to go and hang out with my family. We just had a big day. I had a lot of great supporters come down. And as a matter of fact, I want to give a shout out to the supporters that came. We had a guy named Earl. Earl was a great guy. He seemed very intelligent. He came out and supported us. I mean, he just came and he was present. That's all that he did. And then he came and he hung out with us afterwards. He was a great guy. I really enjoyed it. He came down from Kentucky. I'm really glad that I met Earl. Then we met Brad. Brad runs the Ripple Effect channel. From what I understand, he's in Colorado. This guy was a great guy as well. He actually bought me and a few of my associates lunch. I couldn't speak too highly of the guy. He's a great guy. We had my friend Jeff Pettyjohn, who's a constant supporter of the channel. If anybody's been watching, you will have heard that name before. He's bonded me out of jail on a $1,000 bond. He's paid for a lawyer. I mean, this guy is just a one-man army, and he helps me out anytime I need it. I couldn't speak too highly of that guy. So, and then his wife came, Tina came, and she was also great. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, my family, and of course, included in that is Tyler. He's not my blood brother, but that's my brother. He always shows up to support me. He's always there to walk through the valley of the shadow, whatever the heck they say. He walks through very bad situations with me, and he doesn't blink ever, right? And by the way, they tried to give Tyler a hard time. They tried to say, hey, are you recording in here? Are you recording this? And he just, stood strong. So I think he answered them eventually. But of course, they asked, hey, are the people with Craig recording? And like Tyler just sat there like, he's not with me. I'm with Erica. A lot of people know my girlfriend. I'm with Erica. I'm straight. So is Tyler. So, he's not with me in any sense of the word. We do work together sometimes. But of course, he wasn't with me. He's never been with me. So anyways, big shout out to Tyler. And then the family, Erica, our newborn baby, Sophia, showed up in support with her. She is 17 days old. She showed up to support her dad, and my son, Nathan, he is just my pride and joy. He showed up and he goes through all this stuff with a smile on his face, despite what they try to do to his dad. So with that being said, everybody, thank you for being here. Thanks for being interested in this case. Again, next court date is August 15th. I messed up. I said March early. It's August 15th at 1 p.m. So best wishes to everybody. It was great to meet everybody. And Jared Holtzclaw, I hope that you see the light, my brother. Take care, everybody. Henry Media Group. I'm Craig Henry signing out.